Good evening. Want to talk to you a little bit about Christians telling non-Christians what they're doing is a sin, whether that's right or not. It's not just what you tell them, it's how you tell them also that you must understand. So if you're a Christian, or you profess to be a Christian and you hadn't been doing it right, think about it the next time. This came up from a conversation that somebody said I was a bad Christian because, and they don't know me, there's nothing personal, because I'm telling sinners that what they're doing is a sin. So this is where the conversation, put me on to this to make me think about it and look it up and pick out a few scriptures that will tell you what you're supposed to do there. We'll start with Mark chapter 16 verses 15 and 16. And he said unto them, Go ye into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. He that believeth and is baptized shall be saved, but he that believeth not shall be damned. And that's an important thing right there, it says preach the gospel. And part of the gospel is letting you know what things are sins and what things are not. The next one is Ephesians chapter 4 verse 15. But speaking the truth in love may grow up into him in all things which is the head, even Christ. Now that's the two I wanted to read to you. The other ones is Matthew 5:16 and 2 Timothy 3:16 and 17. They touch on the same subject. But the main thing is not just to tell them that what you're doing is a sin, whatever that sin may be. There's so many sins out there. Our motto when I was a teenager and a sinner was sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Of course, there's really nothing wrong with your average rock and roll, at least what we listened to back then for average. But there's so much that is. There's a lot of rock and roll music that is the devil's music, but not the whole genre. But that's beside the point. The point being sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Sex and drugs, the main point. Both of those were sins, but that's what our motto was. I've always been of Christian beliefs, but I have only in the last couple of years actually become a true Christian. I've been working on it, I've been trying, but I had trouble with some things. And that love part is one of them. See, I loved a lot of people, but there was a couple people I hated. About 3 or 4 to be exact. And I had what anyone who knows the situation, and there's a few that do, what while we were still sinners was probably justifiable in our minds. But in actuality it was not justifiable, because God says, forgive those who have trespassed against us. And that took me a long time. That was where I had my most trouble. And that's one of the things. But the main thing is, when you're talking to people and telling them what is a sin, you got to do it with love, not with hate. And you'll see when they get on national TV, the gay rights movement will be over here on one side yelling, and so-called Christians will be on the other side yelling, and both of them spewing hate at each other. That's not the way it's supposed to be done. It says right there, I just read it, with love. You tell them with love. If you tell them with hatred, you're no better than what they're doing. You're just as guilty of hatred as they are. And it doesn't matter what sin it is. Like I said, I just picked that one because them two of the groups you see on the national news nowadays. And I don't want people to think that I'm just picking on one particular sin. I'm not picking it as a sin. I'm picking it as what Christians preach against. And sometimes preach against in the wrong way. They do it with hatred, with strife, even though they may not intend to. When they should be doing it with love. And that's an important thing that you must understand. People say, well, Jesus didn't do this and Jesus didn't do that. Jesus sat down with sinners. Yes, Jesus sat down with sinners. But how many of them sinners were still sinners when he got up from the table? That's the important part. He told the woman at the well everything she ever done. So she knew who he was. And then he said to the woman, go and sin no more. And you'll see in places all through the Bible where Jesus healed people, the afflicted. And his words as they were leaving was, go and sin no more. When Jesus sat down with sinners, he didn't expect them all to be sinners when he got done. He sat down expecting change. And now we know that as Christians, when we sit down with a group of people and we start talking about Christ, that they're not going to always listen. No, we're not Jesus Christ. We just don't have, most of us just don't have as much near the faith that many people had back in the days when Jesus Christ was walking the earth. And we need to work on that. We need to have that much faith. We need to know when we sit down with a table and we're the only Christian there, that when we get up, we will not be the only Christian leaving that table. And it may take weeks, months, years for you to do that with just one person. If you have one person in mind that you trying to get to come to the altar. That's something you must remember always. It don't happen overnight with most of us. Because our faith isn't as strong as it should be. And that's most every Christian out there that is. Most every preacher you listen to. Thank you. And if you would, if you like this video, hit like, subscribe to my channel. I'm going to post these videos whenever something comes along that the Lord tells me to talk about. And I hope to do more often. If you don't like it, that's fine too. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think.